Hello to all my favorite people in the world, all the anime fans and otakus out there. Welcome to the Andrew Anime Show, where I talk about anime and everything in between. Today, I'm talking about a topic that's hot on everybody's lips: live-action anime adaptations. With there being so much hype around the One Piece live-action version premiering on Netflix here soon, I wanted to talk about the epic fails and triumphs that we in the anime community have either been elated by or have suffered through over the last decade or so. So strap in, lock your Usopp goggles on tight, and let's dive headfirst into that perilous live-action jungle. Hello again, anime fans. Today, we're talking about Mario Warfare. This is by far one of the best adaptations of anything that I've ever seen in recent years, and let me tell you, I've been watching a lot of adaptations here lately. Created by the YouTube channel Beatdown Boogie, Mario Warfare is exactly what it sounds like. It's that classic story, but with a more realistic take. Picture any of Michael B. Jordan's action characters whooping ass in the Mushroom Kingdom. If that sounds good to you, then my friends, you are in for something really special. If you haven't seen Mario Warfare yet, the story goes like this. Basically, it follows Princess Peach's journey to restore the Mushroom Kingdom after being taken over by an extremely tyrannical, if you don't mind the pun, King Koopa. And like always, it's up to two plumbing brothers to save the entire nation. The reason why this did so well is because they stuck to the source material. They kept the story super simple, and they kept it right in line with the rest of the games and all of the lore. This was done so well that it could have been a movie in its own right without using any of the Mario characters, and it still would have been an awesome story. By keeping the premise super simple and not trying to recreate the entire franchise, they made it something that was relatable, and they were able to add in a bunch of creativity. Even the side characters had a lot of thought put behind them, and any lore fan would definitely appreciate that. Take, for example, the Hammer Brothers. There isn't a whole lot of lore that we have on the Hammer Brothers as far as how they interact or how they would be, but I think the reimagining of them in this situation was right on the money. From the way that they talked, from the way that they harassed Luigi, it all made sense, it all came together, and you could tell that everybody that was involved was taking their role very seriously. And not to mention, seeing Toad whip some ass Metal Gear Solid style was really cool to see. So the key is really knowing when to take those cues of when you can use that creative license and when you can use your creative influence while still keeping the very essence of the thing that you are trying to adapt. It seems, however, that not everyone has learned that lesson. If you're a kid like myself from the 90s, then you are all too familiar with adaptations and reboots. Believe me, kids, this is not the first time that we've seen this. Two of the most notable movies from the 90s were the Super Mario Bros. Movie and the Flintstones movie, respectively. Comparatively, the two films are like comparing apples and oranges, but when it comes to adaptations, to the stories themselves, we can make a few baseline comparisons on what made one successful over the other. So the question is, what did make the Flintstones movie so much better than the Super Mario Bros. Movie? Well, first off, both films are based on well-known IPs steeped in their cultures. One from the original Hanna-Barbera family of characters and cartoons, and the other from our favorite animation production, the island nation of Japan. The Flintstones have a long and vibrant history older than most of our parents. They're the first series of its time to show a couple in bed debating household matters, and also the first family on television with a maternity storyline. Absolutely groundbreaking. While the Mario Brothers haven't been around as long, they have made just as big an impact on many societies and cultures around the world, also adding family and other worlds to their canon. And if you don't believe me about audience reception, let's take a look at the numbers, shall we? According to our good old pal Wikipedia and some good old-fashioned digging, I was able to find out some of the ticket box office numbers. And of course, the numbers do reflect the vibrations of the public. In 1993, Super Mario Bros. Was a critical and financial failure, grossing $38.9 million worldwide with a budget of $45 million. The Flintstones in '94 had a box office of $342 million worldwide with a $46 million budget, making it one of the best adaptations of cartoons ever. Against current box office numbers, it would have fallen somewhere around 4th or 5th this summer, along with Oppenheimer and Barbie. So you could tell that this was a major success, especially with an IP that had no new episodes, no new content, and that had been in syndication for 20 or 30 years or so, or maybe longer. For this video, however, I wanted to find out what made the Super Mario Bros. Movie fall into the abyss, and what made the Flintstones movie rise above the rubble. According to Wikipedia, Roland Joffe, after obtaining the rights, was given free creative license by Nintendo, which believed the Mario brand was strong enough for experimentation. The screenwriters envisioned Super Mario Bros. As a subversive comedy influenced by Ghostbusters, 1984, and The Wizard of Oz, 1939. The setting was inspired by the game Super Mario World 1990, with elements drawn from fairy tales and contemporary American culture. And this, my friends, is where we run into trouble. While I appreciate Nintendo's stance, I can't believe they were completely hands-off on this one. The Flintstones stuck to the source material, but adapted the story to all audiences. Granted, the Flintstones had a lot of stories to pull from. From Fred being a blue-collar worker, bringer of the Brontosaurus bacon, and the typical dad type that likes to watch a game or two and have a beer on Monday night. Wilma being a loving wife, but not afraid to use a frying pan when she has to. And don't forget their neighbors, good old Barney and Betty Rubble. They even have their own adoption storyline, and for the times, that was a really powerful topic. However, while the Mario IP had little to go on story-wise, I think it would have been a success if they would have told a Mario story and adapted it to the audience instead of trying to adapt the audience to an unfamiliar world with familiar characters that don't seem to fit into their own universe. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the Super Mario Bros. Movie was a complete failure. I just think that something got lost in the haze. I actually enjoyed this movie very much when I was a kid, and I rented it several times on occasion. So it really comes down to a mix of overall artistic vision, as well as respect for the source material. Experimentation is great, but not when you set out to change the core of what makes the original so beloved. So it's no wonder Nintendo took the direct route on the new movie. Even though it's super violent, Super Mario Warfare is brilliantly done. From the story to the action, there's no lack of excitement. Literally every scene demands attention. Not only is it funny, it combined real-world elements that raise the level of storytelling, while using the source material as a jumping point, and also as a way to stay grounded. It was funny when it needed to be, and sincere when it wanted to be. They were even able to incorporate other Nintendo characters logically. You can tell a lot of work went into this, and it really shows. When you get the chance, check out Super Mario Warfare on YouTube. You will not be disappointed. Now that we have a formula for what makes an adaptation successful, let's take a look at some live-action anime adaptations. The difference here is that most anime adaptations have the advantage of being created within their own country, just like the Flintstones. So the probability of finding someone with a vision that not only respects the source material, while also being aware of how to adapt the movie or series to the changing times of the audience, goes way up. Some stories lend to creative freedoms, while others almost have to be shot for shot. That being said, in shot for shots, the character's performance needs to be impactful and not overdone. Basically, you need to be on point at all times if you want to please the audience. Now, to their defense, in the '93 Mario movie, the actors John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins didn't really have much to go on besides a few sound bites.
Mario!
Don't think that I'm just bashing the movie altogether. It was just evident that they didn't have much to go on, but they were committed. I actually enjoyed the post-apocalyptic vision with Koopa's corporatocracy because it reminds me of classics like Blade Runner and Total Recall, the good one. Today, I wanted to talk about live adaptations because of all the excitement of the most recent installment of One Piece. For better or for worse, I think we're in good hands. Ichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece, wrote a letter to the public stating how this will be produced true to the world he created. Everyone working on the project are superfans themselves, and as we can see, that makes all the difference. So let's talk about anime adaptations in general. For this video, I wanted to focus on the titles that veered so far off the road that they're in wrong turn territory. Of course, there are things to factor in like time and behind-the-scenes events. There's also the challenge of keeping your audience in their seats for a certain amount of time while not sending them to dreamland. I think this goes without saying, but we all know the worst of them are Netflix's Death Note and 20th Century Fox's Dragon Ball Evolution. While the live-action movie created in Japan was not received as well as the anime, they stayed true to the source material. They even experimented with extending the universe. But when it comes to the Netflix reimagining, it fell so deep down an abyss it could not even begin to recover. So much of what made Death Note what it was missing from the core of the story. We get a completely morally corrupt emo protagonist, nowhere nearly as clever as life. You know things are really bad when the protagonist's girlfriend is A, way more interesting, and B, way more clever. I couldn't really find much on the numbers for this one, but it said that Netflix paid Warner Brothers $40 to $50 million for the production. Who knows who came out good on that one? And dare I may say that there's a common denominator for both of these terrible movies. Shame on you, Warner Brothers. You've been doing this for how long now? However, I can't be any more forgiving for the disaster that is Dragon Ball Evolution. It was like they hired an entire crew that had never seen an episode of the saga that is Goku's life. It felt like there was not a single person involved who had ever seen an anime, let alone read a single strip of manga. Even if this were the case, it's not like there's not a plethora of martial arts movies and literature to even get close to what the franchise is all about. We all know that Goku is the Superman of the anime world, and probably our side of this universe. He's beaten countless enemies against all odds, so you gotta hand it to him. But it goes so much deeper than that. Sure, Goku is a bipedal space monkey from a war-ravaging race of conquerors, but he's not just some overpowered muscled jock. He's a dad, a husband, and a friend. Goku puts his life on the line and strives to be better to protect the people he loves. But did we get any of that? No! There is a literal goldmine of golden Super Saiyan source material that warranted some investigation. However, according to sources, the film cost $30 million, but brought in nearly double that at $58.2 million. A success number-wise, but not for the reasons you'd expect. There is one good thing that came out of that train wreck, however, and that was a resurgence that we saw of the interest in the anime franchise from the creator himself, Akira Toriyama. I quote, "Dragon Ball once became a thing of the past to me, but after that, I got angry about the live-action movie, rewrote an entire movie script, and now I'm complaining about the quality of the new TV anime. So it seems that Dragon Ball has grown on me so much that I can't leave it alone. Here's to you, Toriyama, for staying true to your values and sticking to your guns. This just reinforces my point of needing to respect the source material and not just lightly dust it like some fossils." So with all of that being said, I think One Piece will hold up very well considering that lessons have been learned. Netflix doesn't have the best track record when it comes to this, but this one seems to have gone through a different treatment. The more I watch the trailer, the more excited I am about it. Netflix seems to have been hands-off on this one, and it seems like they have finally realized when to keep their big red noses out. So tell me, what do you think makes an adaptation successful? How much experimentation and creative freedom can be had by the licensees and their crews? That isn't to say that all adaptations and interpretations are bad. There are actually some really thought-out movies out there that have leapt into the live-action scene without much provocation. Even if they have fallen just shy of expectations, they're not all dumpster fires burning in the night. Well, that's all for me today on this topic. If you enjoyed my new format, please tune in for more. I do everything on this channel myself, so it'll really help me with my motivation to keep creating more content if you like, comment, and subscribe. My name is Andrew, and I talk about anime like nobody else. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.